It stood alone at the end of Merrill Lane, hidden behind a wall of dead trees. The old bungalow was called Windmere House, though nobody remembered why anymore. Paint peeled from its sides like shedding skin. The windows were always dark, like empty eyes watching anyone who came too close. Locals said the house was cursed. Some said it was haunted. Others swore it was alive. Nobody in the small town of Durbridge dared go near it. Not after what happened over the years. Families moved in, excited by the cheap rent and the promise of privacy. But none were ever seen leaving. The moving trucks would arrive, boxes carried in, laughter filling the air, and then silence. No more sounds, no more lights. Mail would pile up outside, packages left untouched on the porch. And after some time, maybe a month, maybe two, the landlord would quietly place the for rent sign back. No one knew who the landlord was. Some said he was a man with no face. Others whispered that the house itself made the calls, pretending to be someone else. But the Jogs, the old couple who lived closest to Windmere, told a different story about a cellar underneath the house. According to them, there was a secret room hidden beneath the floorboards where the original owners were buried. The Ormond family, Joseph, his wife Mabel, and their 2 sons, had lived there 100 years ago. Nobody remembered how they died. Only that one night, screams had ripped through the fog. By morning, Windmere House was empty, and stayed empty for decades. Until now. The new tenants arrived on a cold, gray afternoon. A family of 4, Michael, Sarah, and their 2 daughters, Emily and Sophie. Michael was a tall, broad man in his early 40s, wearing a brown jacket and heavy boots. Sarah, a slim woman with kind eyes and short blonde hair, clutched a box of dishes. Emily, 13, sulked with her headphones in, hoodie up, while Sophie, 8, skipped happily ahead, clutching her stuffed rabbit. The wind whispered through the dead trees as they unlocked the front door. Inside, the house smelled of dust and something faintly sweet, like rotting fruit. The floors creaked loudly with every step. The walls were covered in faded floral wallpaper, peeling at the edges. A huge, ancient chandelier hung low in the hallway, its crystals dusty and cracked. Michael whistled. "It just needs a little love," he said. Sarah smiled tightly, but something in her gut twisted. The girls chose their rooms quickly. Emily picked the attic room, wanting space away from her parents. Sophie chose a small room on the 2nd floor, delighted by the tiny fireplace. By evening, they were mostly unpacked. Sarah cooked spaghetti while Michael set up the television. The girls explored the backyard, chasing each other through the high grass. It almost felt normal. Almost. That night, as they sat eating dinner, they heard it. A soft knock from under the floor. Michael froze, fork halfway to his mouth. "Probably pipes," he said quickly. Sarah nodded, forcing a laugh. But deep down, she knew better. The knocking came again. A slow, deliberate rhythm, like someone tapping out a message. Sophie looked down at the floorboards, wide-eyed. "Mommy," she whispered, "there's someone under the house." Sarah reached over and rubbed her back. "There's nobody under the house, sweetie. It's just an old house making noises." But Sophie didn't look convinced. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She kept hearing sounds, scratching, shuffling, low whispers. She turned toward Michael, but he was already snoring softly. When she finally drifted off, she dreamed of dirt, mountains of dark, wet soil swallowing her whole, and faces, pale, twisted faces, grinning from the darkness. She woke with a scream. From the hallway came a soft giggle, high and sharp. Sarah jumped out of bed and ran to the door. Sophie stood there, clutching her rabbit. "What's wrong, honey?" "They're laughing downstairs," Sophie said, voice shaking. "They want me to come play." Sarah's stomach turned cold. She scooped Sophie up and carried her back to bed, singing softly. She stayed awake the rest of the night, staring at the door, listening. The next morning, Michael found a door in the pantry that hadn't been there before. A small, wooden hatch with a rusty iron handle. He pulled on it, revealing a set of narrow stairs leading down into darkness. "Hey, Sarah, look what I found." Sarah came over, her heart pounding. The air that drifted up from the hole was cold and damp, carrying a smell of earth and decay. "We're not going down there," she said quickly. Michael laughed. "Come on. Probably just an old wine cellar. Could be worth something." But Sarah shook her head. "No," reluctantly. Michael closed the hatch. That night, the knocking grew louder. This time, it wasn't just knocking. It was scratching, clawing. And it wasn't just from the floor, it was coming from the walls. Emily screamed when her bedroom door slammed shut on its own. Armed with a flashlight and a crowbar, he opened the hatch and descended the stairs. Sarah begged him not to, but he wouldn't listen. The stairs creaked under his weight. The cellar was even colder than the rest of the house, the air thick and wet. The beam of his flashlight caught something on the far wall. Wooden crosses nailed into the dirt, each one marking a grave. Joseph Ormond, Mabel Ormond, David Ormond, Samuel Ormond, and a fifth grave, no name, just a rough wooden board. Michael's breath misted in front of him. From the shadows, something moved. A hand burst from the soil, gray, skeletal fingers. Michael stumbled back, heart hammering. More hands erupted from the graves, bodies pulling themselves free, faces rotted and twisted, mouths stretched in eternal, hungry grins. Michael turned and ran up the stairs, but the hatch slammed shut above him. Sarah heard his screams. They echoed through the house, rattling the windows, shaking the walls, and then silence. When Sarah opened the hatch, there was nothing below but darkness. Michael was gone. The next days blurred together. Sarah tried to call the police, but the phones were dead. Her cell phone showed no service. Emily tried to leave, but she couldn't. Every time she stepped off the property, she found herself back at the front door, no matter which direction she ran. Sophie stopped speaking altogether. She just sat by the pantry door, staring, humming an old, broken tune. At night, the whispers grew stronger, and the dead came closer. Sarah saw them now, standing at the foot of her bed, crowding the hallways, peering through mirrors. They whispered her name. They called to her daughters. "Come down. Join us. Sleep." One night, Emily disappeared. Sarah found her bedroom window open, the curtains fluttering. On the lawn below, a trail of blood led to the cellar door, now wide open. Sarah tried to run after her, but invisible hands held her back, dragging her into the house, slamming the door shut. Sophie was next. Sarah woke to find her daughter standing at the top of the stairs, eyes wide and blank. Without a word, Sophie walked down to the pantry, climbed through the hatch, and vanished into the dark. Sarah screamed and fought, tearing her nails bloody against the walls, but it was no use. The house would not let her go. Days passed, or maybe weeks. Time meant nothing now.